AI News Roundup. We've got 4 major developments brewing this week, each with the potential to really shake up the AI landscape. From nuclear-powered data centers facing some unexpected obstacles to the rise of AI agents in the energy sector. And Wall Street's surprising bet on Nvidia chips. We've got a lot to cover. And hey, we'll even tackle the age-old nemesis of every internet user, the dreaded password. You ready to dive in with me?
Absolutely. Let's break down these developments, see how they fit into the bigger picture of AI's evolution.
All right, first up, a story that proves even tech giants aren't immune to the, shall we say, buzz of nature. Meta's ambitious plan to build a nuclear-powered data center hit a snag when a rare bee species decided to make the proposed site their home.
Wow.
Talk about a David and Goliath situation. What's fascinating to me is that this isn't just about one data center. It points to the immense energy demands of training these massive AI models. Can you shed some light on why Meta is so keen on going nuclear?
It's all about keeping up with the computational arms race in a way. Think of it like this. Every time you ask an AI chatbot a question or use an image generator, it requires a massive amount of computation in the background.
Right.
That translates to a huge energy footprint. Meta, along with its rivals like Google and Microsoft, sees nuclear power as a reliable and relatively clean way to fuel these power-hungry AI systems.
It makes you wonder, doesn't it, if even these giants are struggling to keep up with the energy demands.
Yeah.
What does it mean for the future of AI development? Is nuclear power the only viable option, or are there other solutions on the horizon?
That's the million-dollar question. This energy conundrum is a challenge that's going to shape the entire AI industry, from the types of models we can build to the companies that will dominate the field. It's not just a technical issue, but a strategic one as well.
Now, speaking of strategy, our next story takes us to the oil fields of Abu Dhabi, where AI is making a surprising entrance. The Abu Dhabi National Oil Company is partnering with Microsoft and an Emirati AI firm, G42, to deploy something called agentic AI in their operations. This is fascinating because it's not just about analyzing data. It's about giving AI the reins to make decisions and take action. What exactly are these AI agents, and what kind of impact could they have on the energy sector?
You can think of AI agents as super-powered AI assistants capable of not just crunching numbers, but also understanding complex scenarios and making decisions based on real-time data. For example, an AI agent could be tasked with optimizing oil extraction, constantly adjusting drilling parameters based on geological conditions and market demand.
So instead of relying on human engineers to make those decisions, you have an AI system constantly monitoring and adjusting operations for maximum efficiency. It's almost like something out of a sci-fi movie, but it also makes you wonder about the human element. What happens to the jobs and expertise that were traditionally involved in these processes?
It's a valid concern. As AI agents become more sophisticated, they're likely to automate tasks that were previously done by humans. This shift could lead to job displacement in some areas, but also create opportunities for new roles that focus on collaborating with and overseeing these AI systems.
It's that classic dance between technological advancement and the human workforce, isn't it?
Yeah.
Finding that balance is going to be crucial as AI becomes more integrated into these critical industries. But let's shift gears for a moment and talk about a story that's sending shockwaves through the financial world: Wall Street's billion-dollar bet on Nvidia. Apparently, financial institutions are pouring money into companies that own,
wait for it, Nvidia chips. It sounds like the Wild West of AI finance, with everyone scrambling to get their hands on these highly coveted GPUs. What's driving this Nvidia-fueled frenzy?
It all boils down to supply and demand in the age of AI. These NVIDIA GPUs, specifically their high-end H100 chips, are the workhorses of AI training. They're the engines that power the creation of everything from chatbots to image generators to self-driving car algorithms.
And right now, demand for these chips far outstrips supply.
So it's like owning a gold mine during a gold rush. Companies like CoreWeave, which went from mining cryptocurrency to being valued at billions of dollars, are essentially betting their fortunes on the continued dominance of NVIDIA in the AI chip market. It's a high-stakes gamble, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. And it highlights a critical dependency within the AI ecosystem.
Yeah.
While everyone is focused on developing groundbreaking algorithms and applications, the underlying hardware infrastructure often gets overlooked. This NVIDIA situation is a stark reminder that access to powerful computing resources is just as important as the software itself.
And it makes you wonder, doesn't it, about the long-term implications. What happens if a competitor emerges with a chip that outperforms NVIDIA's? or if the supply chain for these chips gets disrupted. It's a fascinating case study in the risks and rewards of betting big on a single technology. But for our final story today, let's talk about something that affects us all in our daily digital lives: passwords. Those pesky combinations of letters, numbers, and symbols that we can never seem to remember.
But we've all been there.
But the good news is that AI might finally be coming to our rescue.
Oh,
RSA, a leading cybersecurity company, is suggesting that AI could be the key to a passwordless future. Now, I'm sure our listeners are poking up their ears at this because, let's face it, who doesn't hate passwords? What's the vision here? How could AI liberate us from this tyranny of remembering?
imagine a world where instead of remembering a secret phrase, your identity is verified by who you are and what you do. AI can analyze patterns in your typing speed, your mouse movements, the way you hold your phone, even your location, and the apps you use. It creates a unique digital fingerprint, constantly comparing it to your current activity. If something seems off, boom, security alert.
So it's not just about replacing a password with something else. It's about completely changing the way we think about authentication. It's like having a personalized security system that's always learning and adapting to your behavior. It sounds incredibly futuristic, but also a bit unsettling. I mean, isn't there a risk of AI making mistakes? What if it locks you out of your own accounts because you're having a bad typing day?
It's a valid concern, and it's something developers are working hard to address. Accuracy is paramount, and these systems need to be incredibly robust to prevent false positives. The goal is to create a system that's more secure than passwords, but also user-friendly and reliable. It's a delicate balance.
It definitely raises a lot of interesting questions about the trade-offs between security and convenience in the age of AI. But before we get too deep into the philosophical weeds, let's circle back to our first story about Meta and those buzzing bees. It's easy to chuckle at the image of a tiny bee halting a billion-dollar project, but it really underscores the complex challenges of building these massive data centers. You mentioned the energy demands of AI training. Can you give our listeners a sense of just how much power we're talking about here?
To give you an idea, training a single large language model can consume as much electricity as an average American household uses in several years, and that's just for one model. As these models become more complex and data sets grow larger, the energy footprint is only going to increase.
Wow, that's mind-boggling. It makes Meta's pursuit of nuclear power seem less like a quirky side story and more like a glimpse into the future of AI infrastructure. It also puts Zuckerberg's concerns about China's nuclear advantage into a new perspective. It's not just about military power. It's about having the resources to fuel the next generation of AI innovation.
Exactly. Access to abundant and reliable energy is going to be a key factor in determining which companies and countries will lead the way in AI development. It's not just about the algorithms anymore. It's about the infrastructure that supports those algorithms.
That's like the old saying, it takes a village to raise a child. Well, in this case, it takes a nuclear power plant to raise an AI. But speaking of global competition, let's revisit our story about Abu Dhabi and their embrace of agentic AI in the energy sector. What struck me about this partnership between the Abu Dhabi national oil company, Microsoft, and G42 is the geopolitical dimension. You have a major U.S. tech company collaborating with an Emirati firm, all while navigating the sensitivities of China's growing influence in the region. What do you make of this complex web of international relations playing out in the AI arena?
It's a clear indication that AI is not just a technological race, but also a geopolitical one. Countries and companies are vying for dominance in this field, and strategic partnerships are becoming increasingly important. The Abu Dhabi example highlights how these collaborations can bridge geographical and political divides in pursuit of shared interests.
That also raises questions about the ethical considerations of these partnerships. G42, for instance, has faced scrutiny in the past for its ties to Chinese companies and concerns about data privacy and surveillance technologies.
It's a reminder that as AI becomes more deeply integrated into critical industries like energy and finance, we need to pay close attention to the ethical implications. Who controls the data? Who benefits from these technologies, and what are the potential risks to privacy and security?
Those are critical questions that we'll need to address as a global community as AI continues to evolve. But before we wrap up, let's take another look at the Wall Street frenzy surrounding Nvidia chips. You explain why these chips are in such high demand, but I'm curious about the potential downsides of this so-called Nvidia gold rush. What happens if the bubble bursts?
Well, for one thing, the companies that have invested heavily in Nvidia chips could see their valuations plummet if demand drops or a competitor emerges with a superior product. We've seen this happen before in the tech world, and it can have a ripple effect throughout the industry.
It's that classic boom and bust cycle that we see in many emerging technologies. Early investors and innovators reap huge rewards, but there's always the risk of a crash if the hype doesn't live up to reality.
Exactly. And in the case of Nvidia, there's also the risk of overdependence on a single supplier. If Nvidia faces production problems or decides to raise prices, it could have a significant impact on the entire AI ecosystem.
It's a reminder that diversity and resilience are important not just in biological systems, but also in technological ones. But speaking of resilience, let's revisit our final story about the potential for AI to create a passwordless future. You painted a picture of an AI-powered authentication system that sounds both liberating and a bit unnerving. What are some of the key challenges that need to be overcome before we can all ditch our password managers and embrace this brave new world of passwordless security?
One of the biggest challenges is ensuring accuracy. These AI systems need to be incredibly good at distinguishing between legitimate users and potential imposters. False positives, where a legitimate user is denied access, can be incredibly frustrating and disruptive.
Especially if you're trying to access something important like your bank account or your work email.
Exactly. So striking that balance between security and user experience is crucial.
And what about privacy? You mentioned that these systems collect data about our behavior and patterns. How can we be sure that this data is being used responsibly and not for nefarious purposes?
That's where transparency and regulation come into play. We need clear guidelines for how this data can be collected, used, and protected.
It seems like every time we solve one problem with technology,
Right.
we create a whole new set of challenges. It's like a never-ending game of technological whack-a-mole.
Mm-hmm.
But hey, that's what makes this field so dynamic and fascinating, right?
Absolutely. And that's why it's so important for us to have these conversations to explore both the potential benefits and the potential risks of these emerging technologies.
You know, as we wrap up this whirlwind tour of AI news,
Mm.
one thing that strikes me is the interconnectedness of it all.
Mm.
We've talked about energy finance, cybersecurity, geopolitics. It's all intertwined.
It's a testament to the pervasive nature of AI. It's no longer confined to research labs or tech companies. It's woven into the fabric of our society,
Yeah.
shaping how we live, work, and interact with the world around us.
And it's evolving at an astonishing pace. What seemed like science fiction just a few years ago is now reality. It makes you wonder what the next decade will bring. What new breakthroughs will we see? What new challenges will we face?
It's an exciting time to be following this field. The possibilities are truly limitless.
Wow.
But as we move forward, it's crucial that we approach AI development with a sense of responsibility, ensuring that these powerful technologies are used for good and not for harm.
Well said. It's a reminder that we all have a role to play in shaping the future of AI. So to our listeners out there, stay curious, stay informed, and most importantly, stay engaged.
Right.
The AI revolution is happening now, and it's up to all of us to ensure that it's a revolution that benefits humanity as a whole.
I couldn't agree more.
And on that note, we'll wrap up this deep dive. Thanks for joining us on this journey into the fascinating world of AI. We'll be back soon with more insights, analysis, and thought-provoking discussions. Until then, stay curious and keep exploring.